Welcome to Principles with Cory and Logan. Guys, I'm excited about our guest today. You're going to learn a ton. I hope you got your pen and your notebooks ready because Eric always has some good stuff. So I'm excited about you guys getting to know Eric and hear his story. The first time I met Eric was, we followed each other on social media a little bit, but the first time I actually got to meet Eric in person is we're both a part of this movement called Transformation Tupelo. And I think it was at our very first meeting that we both got to meet in person. He told me this story, or he was sharing to the group this story about their 21 days of prayer and how they really had a heart for the city and some of the things that they were specifically praying about over our city. And I was like, wow, that's what I've been praying about. That's pretty amazing. So anyway, it really just was drawn to him, was connected to him that way. And man, he's just an awesome guy the more I get to know him. So Eric, welcome to Principles with Cory and Logan.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here. And let me say with the utmost genuineness, I'm honored that you asked me to be on here, and thankful for the opportunity. Just really appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, I think it's going to be good. And I know we're going to learn a lot. And real quick, Eric, for those that may not know anything about you, don't even know who this guy is, tell us a little bit about yourself, maybe your background, your story, and kind of where you're at today.
All right. Well, again, I appreciate being on here, and just ditto to what you said. I felt the connection the first time we met together, that there was a real kindredness there, that we were on the same page as far as, what the Lord was speaking to us. I've appreciated you and have come to appreciate you greatly because of the influence you have in our city, your spirit, your love for God, your family, the way you're leading them. So I'm happy to know you. It's a gift. My name's Eric Burton. I grew up here in Tupelo since 1987. I'm kind of a transplant, but I've been here so long, when people say, where are you from? It's just easier now for me to say Tupelo, though I've got a lot of other places that I've lived when I was little. And I pastor here in Tupelo. I pastor the Sycamore Church, and we are located at 1212 Nelle Street. I say that because it's kind of an iconic landmark here in Tupelo. It used to be the old Malco Theater, and then it was the Bill Williams Sporting Goods store. And one day I was driving by when I knew we were going to launch a church here in Tupelo. We were looking for a location, and this building just stood out, and I knew it had been empty and vacant for a number of years. And when we finally got the chance to come in, it was a mess in here, but there was vision for it, and the Lord has helped us to renovate this building. There are a couple of other things we're wanting to do to it, but it is such an incredible location, a great building. It's got good bones to it, and we love worshiping here. So February will be 5 years that the Sycamore Church has, since it's been planted, and God's really doing some wonderful, lively things with us and through us. And so we're very thankful about that. In addition, even more importantly about me, married 20 years this year. We have 3 children, and my wife's name is Kamala. It is an Indian name, though she's not Indian. Her parents were missionaries there, and but people are always very interested about her name. And I tell people, outside of the name of Jesus, her name is the most beautiful name that I know, and it means water lily. Then we have 3 incredible children: Oliver, who's 13, Catherine, who is 10, and then Morgan, our youngest, he is 6.
And that's a really cool name. I'll be honest with you. It just kind of rolls off the top. I mean, that's awesome. That's awesome. Well, so Eric, I mean, you guys are doing some awesome things here in the community. And, when you think about pastoring the church, you're impacting lives, but also not just individual lives, generations, right? Because those people are going to go out and impact their families, but also communities as well. And I'd really love to hear kind of how you got to that point. So you mentioned early on in your story that you were around a good bit. You traveled a good bit and you landed in Tupelo, but been here so long that this is kind of your home. Can you take us
Yeah.
back a little bit to the childhood part?
Oh yeah, let's do a throwback. We'll do
throw
a
it back,
big.
throw it back.
All right, we're going way back. The year was 1987, and I'll just tell you, I've got gypsy blood in me. And that came about a lot because of instability in my family. We moved quite a bit, and I'm adopted. But to jump back before then, I grew up in New Orleans, and I'm the oldest of 6 kids. And my mom and dad, it was just very unstable. Our home was a wreck. And I say that to really connect with, any of our listeners. Most of our families, when we talk about our childhood, a lot of us come from dysfunctional families. Great minister, late T.F. Tinney, he said that that's what the word family means. He was joking, but he said it means dysfunction. That's what family is. And ours was very dysfunctional. And my parents were split up. They were about to get a divorce. There were 6 kids. My mom could not take care of all of us. She did the best she could. But ultimately, and I thank God, she had the wherewithal and the mind to bring us to a children's home here in Tupelo, called the Tupelo Children's Mansion. Many may be familiar with that. And so when I was 9 years old, my siblings and myself moved here, and we were residents at the children's home. But before that, we lived again in New Orleans. We had traveled. We had moved quite a bit in different places. There were times when we were homeless. I remember being homeless, foster care. We were in a lot of foster homes. And I think what it developed in me was an extreme adaptability to make friends quickly, and to adapt to a situation quickly. Like, I don't meet a stranger. I'm not afraid of new situations. But what it didn't develop in me was the ability to really have those long-term relationships, or to take the courage to go deep with people. And over time, especially as the Lord was developing in me ministry and calling me to ministry, that was a place I knew that I had to grow, where, again, I can meet people quickly, make friends real fast. But in the long game, especially in pastoring, it is about getting those deep roots in relationship with people. But we moved here in 1987. I lived 3 years at the Tupelo Children's Mansion when I was adopted. And my parents, their parental rights were terminated, and all my siblings, we were put up for adoption. We were split up, unfortunately, but I'll tell you, by the grace of God, he kept us together, in that we knew where each other had been adopted, and we were able to stay in touch with each other. And we're older now. We've got our own families, and we stay in contact. And it is not always easy, but I thank God that none of us got disconnected and lost each other. And so, ironically, my parents that adopted me lived here in Tupelo. And so I stayed here in Tupelo. They worked at the Tupelo Children's Mansion, which is even more ironic. And so I was very close growing up there at the children's home, not as a resident, but now kind of looking on the outside as someone that had my own family, but was still very connected to it. I graduated high school here in 95, then went to ICC for 2 years, got my associates, and then went off to Christian Life College in Stockton for my bachelor's in theology. And that's where I met my wife. It was my senior year. I was graduating, and it was her freshman sophomore year. And so I was heading out, and she had started coming to school there. We fell in love. And a couple of years later, 2002, we got married, and we started ministry together.
Wow. So Eric, I want to go back to something. All right. So,
All right.
You're in New Orleans. All right. And kind of a little bit of instability there. And mom and dad kind of part ways, and your mom brings you to Tupelo. It just really curious, what were the emotions like when your mom was bringing you to Tupelo and dropping you off at the children's mansion? Can you talk about that emotion right there, what that was like?
Yes. All right. So I'm the oldest of six, and from a very young age, leadership was a part of me, whether I wanted it to be or not.
Yeah.
Because my dad, unfortunately, was out of the picture a lot of the time. My mom worked night jobs as a waitress. She wouldn't be home, or she'd be home and she was sleeping because she was dead tired from working on her feet. And so I had to step in, even at a very young age, and learn to do laundry, learn to cook, learn to be aware of my brothers and sisters. And we were in foster care quite a bit. There were times when my mom she couldn't keep us, and I didn't like foster care as a kid, just to be honest. And I think it is a huge blessing and an opportunity to change the lives of children. I did not like foster care, but when we came to the children's mansion, it was, in fact, the first time I felt safe. I literally remember thinking, this is home. I was, as callous as it sounds, I was very happy to be there. Now, my brothers and sisters, they were not. In fact, one of my brothers, my middle brother, it was very difficult for him, but I felt very safe there. And I felt like this was something that I could really finally unpack my suitcase of life. And I was going to be here. And the plan was for us to be there 2 years. And I was fine with that. In that time, my mom was supposed to be able to get back on her feet and either get her degree, get a place where she could take care of us, and we'd all go back with her. And I think it may have been the toughest part for me was for my youngest brother. I was 9 years old, and my youngest brother was 2 years old. And he did not know what was going on. And in fact, he, at our dorm room at the children's home, he would sleep with me. I mean, he was afraid this was all of a sudden, his mom is gone. He doesn't really know our dad. And I think the most difficult part for me emotionally was just what he was going through. And again, I probably had more on my shoulders than I should have as a 9-year-old. But I all in all, I have to say I knew it was a blessing. I still am thankful for the Tupelo Children's Mansion, and what it did and offered to me there. I can tell you a number of facets of why I'm thankful for it, but I felt safe there, and was very happy, very, very happy to be there.
Wow. So it sounds like, that was for the first time in a long time, there was some stability a little bit, is what it sounded like. Yeah. A question I've got for you there, Eric, and just kind of getting to know you. We talk about the fruits of the Spirit, and you got love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, and those kind of things. And when I see you and I talk to you, I really feel those. I feel like you got peace, and you got joy, and you got kindness and love, and I also see security in your leadership. Like, you're secure in your leadership, and I was hoping you would tell that part of your story, because I know there's a lot of people out there that things happen to all of us, right? Like stuff happens, it does, and there's people that may find themselves in the circumstance, and it's like, why is this happening to me? Why is this happening to me? Why me? Right. And they become bitter. And I say all that, I see the love and the joy and the peace and all that kind of stuff in you. I don't sense bitterness. You may hide it super good, I don't know. But I don't get that when I meet you. Do you have any advice for somebody that's kind of where they're at? They feel like, man, these circumstances are just piling up on me. Like, man, why me? You got any advice, any thought for those people?
If I could just reduce it down so that you could steep on it, and not to over spiritualize, but for me, I try to stay very close to the voice of God in my life, because his way is always the best way. It always produces the best thing. And the only reason I know this is because I've not done it his way before many times, and it's produced the wrong effect. And I have learned, and I am still learning his voice in my life. And when I listen to him, it is normally, God speaks to all of us differently. Like, he knows our language. He just knows the way we speak. And the best kind of illustration of that is at his birth, when Jesus was born, he spoke to two very diverse people. He spoke to shepherds, and he said, "You're going to find me in a manger, wrapped in swaddling clothes." And he knew how to talk to shepherds to find him. But when he talked to the wise men, he told them, "You're going to see a star," because they were men of, astronomy. They knew these things. And he didn't talk to the shepherds about stars. He didn't talk to the wise men about a manger. He knew how they spoke and what they would get. And I believe God speaks to us the way we'll get it. And we just have to learn. That's the voice of God in me. And I try to stay very close to his voice. And he's teaching me things. But I'll tell you this, the difficult things that happen, the ugly things that happen in our life, and they're going to happen to all of us. They have happened to all of us. So if I say something, it is not like I'm an outlier that is the only one that's been through tough times. I know that your listeners have as well. I was in Bible college. Okay. I am studying. I was saved when I was 9 years old. Jesus is the best thing that's ever happened to me. And he entirely changed my life. Even at a young age. And I'm in Bible college. I'm 20 years old, studying to be in ministry. And there was bitterness, and there was shame, and there was an ugly hate in my life, Cory, towards my mother.
Yeah.
My biological mother. There were a lot of things I remembered that I should not have been exposed to, should not have known. Things that I had seen, lifestyle. And then there's 6 kids, and we just felt like we'd never had a chance. So I'm 20 years old, and I go back to New Orleans to see one of my brothers. We're older now. And he says, "Hey, you ought to go see mom and take her to lunch." And I was pretty upset with him for even asking me that, because he doesn't remember the stuff I remember. And I kind of basically told him I didn't think that was fair of him to ask that of me, even though I'm the oldest. And I just told him, "You don't understand." And he just pushed all that aside. He goes, "Yeah, that's fine, but I think you still should. I think that she would appreciate it. It's not about you. She would appreciate it." So I went to lunch with her. I invited her to lunch. And it was the strangest thing for me to feel nervous around my biological mother. But I was nervous sitting there because I didn't know what to talk to her about. I didn't want to talk to her. And again, remember, I'm saved. I'm filled with the Holy Spirit. I'm studying to be a minister. And there is this root of bitterness. There is a seed of unforgiveness that has grown inside of me. And I want to talk to other people about forgiving and minister to them, but I have not done it. I'm sitting across the table from her. I'm looking at her, and it's really just pity that I feel, and how pathetic. And it's just, what have you done with your life? I feel hurtful even saying it like that, but that's what I felt. Yeah. And I'm looking at her, and she's talking, and she's wanting to catch up, and I don't want to catch up with her. I don't want to talk to her. I blame her, for the way our lives had turned out. And the Lord just spoke to me in that moment. And this is why I have to stay close to the voice of God. And he is so good at getting to the root, and he can say something in like 2 seconds and change our whole life. Like, he speaks volumes. And he just said, maybe she did the best she could do. And that did it for me. I started crying at the table in front of her. I felt like Joseph in front of his brothers, instead of being angry, it just opened up, and there was a love that I had towards her. And I immediately pictured a single mother in New Orleans. We were homeless at one point. I remember us breaking into a house and us sleeping in the basement. And she told us that it was her friend's house. Mm. And I tried to imagine if I was alone and had 6 children from 9 to 2 years old, depending on me, what would I do? And the Lord just said it all right then. And it moved my heart. Maybe she did the best she could do. And I believe that in the hardest times of our lives, when things will pile on, if you will listen to the voice of God, it's a whisper sometimes. And you'll know it's his voice because he's telling you to do the thing you would never do. Mm-hmm. He is telling you to do the total opposite. And that is what I would encourage people to do. Get close to the voice of God. Let that develop in you. It happens in prayer. It happens in reading his word. And it's spirit and it's truth. He speaks to us. He gives life to us, and it will get you through difficult times in leading, making decisions for your family, your business, relationships, and endeavors you're going to take on. He leads us the right way.
Yeah. Wow. That's amazing. That kind of forgiveness like that, that's supernatural, right? Like that, there's no way you can conjure that kind of stuff up and stuff that down and those kind of things. And that's amazing. I do. You as you're saying that, it reminded me of a while back, I was caught up in some, we all mess up in those kind of things. I was caught up in something that I wasn't forgiving myself. You talk about forgiving other people, forgiving myself. And I remember laying and praying, and I came across a passage. Somebody had told me that if we want to go down the prophetic route, Cory, I see promotion
Come on.
for you. I see promotion coming for you. And I was laying and praying, and I really felt led to this proverb. And the proverb basically says, I'm going to paraphrase. I'm going to give you a Cory phrase. All right. This is the Cory version, that
bring it
will not come until God sees humility. And I was like, well, I feel like I'm humble, Mm-hmm. That sounds arrogant when you say that, but it's like
here's my humble card. Here's my humble card right here.
That's right. It's like Moses saying Moses was the most humble man ever, right? That's but I remember saying, well, I don't know of anything. And then immediately it came to my mind what I was caught up in the past, like a while back. And I was like, well, God, can't you just like wave that, like miraculously do that and it's gone? And he said, I can. And I have, but you haven't let go of it. And immediately I knew what I had to do. I knew what the step was. And I said, I really don't want to do that, but once it's taken that step, it's like some kind of weight just totally gone. Right. Yeah. And I love the fact that you brought that up. It's in twofold there, forgiving other people and then forgiving yourself as well. I think it only can come with what you said, staying close to the Father. That's good stuff.
And the end of that story that's still being written is the redemption of God.
Yeah.
He is such a redeemer.
Yeah.
And he has redeemed that relationship between my birth mother and myself. And there are still boundaries there, but I'm telling you that there's redemption, there's love that's there. We have relationships. She texts me nearly, every day. She supports our ministry at this church. She still lives in New Orleans. She supports our ministry here. And it's just crazy. But even apart from that, just what we have between each other. And I thank the Lord for that. And let me just say, my parents that adopted me, they're mom and dad. They're not my adopted parents. That's mom and dad. And I honor them. And what I mean by that is I honor them in my relationship with my birth parents. My birth parents have their place in my life. I honor them, but they do not transcend the relationship that my mom and dad that adopted me have in my life. And so let me just say that. And there's a balance there of honor, but the Lord has redeemed that relationship with my birth mother. And there's no hurt that you have gone through with someone. I mean, it could be very, very deep. And I have been witness that God can redeem it if you will stay close to his voice, if you will be willing to forgive. And there are things that are not worthy of being forgiven. You know, that's how we would feel. And you have a right to that. You have a right to stay there, and you deserve to be the right in this situation if you want to be. But if you will forgive, there is no relationship, no hurt, no matter how deep or how high, that God cannot redeem that. And the power of forgiveness is the person, them being willing to do it. And I just thank God for that.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. You're right, man. That's incredible. Well, Eric, I'd like to shift gears a little bit. I'd like to talk a little bit of leadership and some excellence. So I'd really like to dive into some excellence and the importance of being excellent in everything you do, the small thing, and not just the one big thing, but being excellent in all that you do. And I love the thought of, it's those people that are closest to me who love and respect me the most, not the people who think they know me or anything like that, but it's the ones who truly know me. And I think it is carrying yourself with excellence, doing things with excellence. And one of the things that I talk about going into businesses is a story you shared yesterday about the Queen of Sheba coming to King Solomon. Solomon, the guy, was famous for his wealth and his wisdom, and all these kings and queens would come to him. And then one day the Queen of Sheba comes. I'll let you tell the story because you told it great, but share that story and then we'll jump into some excellence if you.
Excellence is something we can continually pursue, right? We're moving towards it. We're excelling. We're going, at its root, excellence is saying, I'm not staying here. I'm going to excel from here. And it's that pursuit that leaves you in a place that there's a wake left behind you of excellence. It's an active word that is being done. It's a present perfect, it's being completed. And one of the best examples of that is, like you said, King Solomon. He's done incredible feats. There is great wealth. He is known to be a great judge and king in the way that he judges matters. And this spreads. That's what happens with excellence. It spreads. People hear about it, his wisdom. And Queen Sheba, this distant, beautiful, prominent queen herself, has made appointment to come and talk and spend time with Solomon. And she spends all this time. She is testing the boundaries of his wisdom. I have heard about it. And she's asking questions and judgments that he's made. And how did you come to this? And how did you know to do that? And he's just pouring it out. And then he's showing off his wealth, and he's giving her gifts himself to express how wealthy he is. And then he's showing her the boundaries of his land and the things he's built. And all that astounds her. And then it comes to this verse in 1 Kings, and it says that when she saw the way his servants ascended into worship, into the temple, the way they were serving, which says a whole lot about us, the people that are under us or around us, how they serve says a whole lot about us. And when she saw that, the way his servants ascended, it said her breath was taken away. And she told him the half had not even been told. I'd heard a lot about you, but the half had not been told. And I love not just the idea, but the pursuit of excellence. That's what we want to do in our personal lives. I want people to say that of me without it being negative, that I was belligerent about something, but that I wanted excellence. Yeah. And that's the way we want to serve here at the Sycamore Church, in excellence. And this is something that's been taught to me, that excellence breeds safety. When people see that, they kind of relax. They feel like they're in safe hands. And the first time I really saw it was at a church that I went to visit, and they were having a conference on planting churches. And my wife and I, of all the ministry we'd had, of all the study we'd had, I will humbly say we were not prepared to launch or plant a church. And that hurt me, because we had been in ministry for almost 15, 16 years, but we had helped other churches. But when it came time for us to launch a church, I was shorthanded and didn't know what to do. So we went to this conference, and I remember I was wore out. I was so frustrated in spirit, Cory. We wanted to launch a church. We just didn't know what we were doing. And a friend of mine invited me to go to this church conference in Birmingham at a church called Church of the Highlands. You may be familiar with it. They're part of a program called ARC, an association of related churches. And he was coming from Santa Rosa, California. And I'm only an hour and 45 minutes, hour and 50 minutes from there. And he said, hey man, go with me. And I didn't want to go. I didn't know about ARC. I'd heard about it, but didn't know much about it. And he said, come with me. And I thought, if he's flying from Santa Rosa, California, the least I can do is, go 2 hours and meet him. And I went to that conference, and it started at 9 a.m. I got there, and as soon as I walked in the doors, I felt like Queen Sheba. It literally took my breath away. It wasn't just how they were doing it. It was the spirit. It was the spirit in which they served people. I mean, it literally, I remember gasping and just like, wow, what is going on here? And it was from the aesthetics. It was from the way the door was opened for me coming in. It was the way worship started. And the first song that was sung, they were just going into it. And I remember just bursting out in tears. I began to cry. And I knew why. I was feeling the presence of God. And I texted my wife back home. And again, we're searching for resources to how do we launch a church. And I just texted her and I said, I don't know what they're doing here, but we're going to do it. This is what we're going to do. It was excellence. And when you are operating in excellence, when it is at your pursuit, I want to be better. Last week was great. Yesterday was great, but it is an active word that it is what I do. It's not that I've achieved excellence. I am pursuing it. And even in the pursuit, again, a wake of excellence is left behind that people want to get into and be a part of. People want to be a part of things that are excellent,
Man, that's awesome. I love what you said. Excellence is excel from here. It's an active word. And you mentioned going in there and it was the spirit in which they did the things that they did, right?
Yeah.
There are some things that can be taught. Like I can pull out a book and I can teach you something, but there are other things that are caught. And that's the spirit in which I do it, right? And man, that's amazing, right? And it's not just doing the action. There's a spirit in which you do it in, and that's what's caught. That's what's caught. And that's what I love that. I love thinking into those kind of things. And I hope that whenever I interact with somebody, that they are left with some kind of deposit, right? Some kind of increase. And yeah.
And you know what? And just speak to that about, what's taught versus what's caught. If it's caught, you had to put your hand out to catch it, which is to say you were prepared. I was looking for something. I was wanting. And when it comes to excellence, you should, in the pursuit of, you should be looking for people that do things that are excellent and get around them. And because stuff's going to be coming off of them, and you got to be there ready to catch it. We go to a baseball game. I'm not even on the team, and we'll bring a baseball glove. What'd you bring a glove for? You're not on the team. You don't have a uniform. A foul ball may come my way and I want to catch it. We go prepared to catch things.
Wow. Man, I don't want to go too far down this, but man, God's been leading me down to Mark 4, the 4 souls, and those kind of things. And that's really what it is. It's your heart preparation. And I was reading today, and it was interesting that, God spoke, or Jesus, he spoke this parable to all these people. But it was ones that came to him afterwards that asked him, right? Like his disciples and the 12, it's the ones that came close to him, that their hearts were prepared, that he didn't just tell the parable to, he revealed the meaning to them, right? And I love that, your heart being prepared. And yeah, that's good stuff. Good stuff. You when you were talking about excellence, I heard a podcast by John Maxwell the other day, and this has been for about 3 weeks. I've really been stewing on. He used 3 words. He used the word success, significance, and greatness. And he said, success is how well I've done for myself. Significance is how well I've done for myself and others. But greatness goes along with what you talked about in excellence, of about those people under us, those people we lead. Greatness is how well I inspire others to do well for themselves and others. It's that third and fourth level deep, right? It's that generational thing, the inheritance to my children's children, those kind of stuff. And I think that's excellence. I like that. I like that.
Yeah. And if people are using their gift that God has given to them, all of us have been given a gift, everybody. The scripture says in Ephesians 2 that we are God's workmanship. We were created to do good works. And all of us have been given a gift, no matter what it is, no matter what side of the tracks you were born on, no matter what opportunities given or not given. At the core, you have been given a gift. And like you said, success, significance, and what was the third?
Greatness. Yeah.
Greatness.
Yeah.
That is translated into something I say when it comes to our gift, and in terms of excellence, when we are operating and living out our gift, like doing what you do. My mother-in-law, she has this term. She says, what makes your heart hum, and there's a thing you do that makes your heart hum. And when you're doing it, 3 things are going to happen. It's going to glorify God. Your gift, when you are doing it, always glorifies him because he's the one that gave it to you. And it's going to gratify you because there is no gratification like doing what you're supposed to do and knowing it, and knowing like this is my jam right here, in life. It glorifies God. It gratifies you. And just for lack of a better term, because I don't have a word that starts with G, I don't have a complete alliteration here. It's going to bless others. They're going to want to do something. It's going to inspire them, because whenever you're doing your thing, other people that aren't even good at it, they'll feel like, man, I'd like to do that. And they don't even know what it is. They're just like, you look like you're doing what you're supposed to do. I want to do that. And I think that's what excellence does. And at its core, it's you living out in the gift that God has given you. Yeah,
man, that's good. I like that. So Eric, we were talking right before, you got a book in you. You says everybody got a book. Yeah, tell us can you give us like a synopsis of what you thinking of that book's going to be about?
I think we all have a book in us, and Lord willing, I will write this book. And I just hope it blesses people. But the Lord laid this on my heart, and it's just growing. But it's about the chasm or the gap, but the chasm between our convenience and our calling. And this is both in the church, in the secular world. It doesn't matter. People that are going towards excellence, that have a call on their life. You hear stories about movie stars. Before they made it big, they were a waiter or a server at a restaurant, just hoping to hit the right spot, make it big, and become a superstar. They've done it in entertainment, music. It's the same in our calling with God, even more so. And there is something you see out ahead God's called you to, and you always think, that's great, I want to do that. But between you and there is this great chasm. It is a gulf. It's too difficult. You don't have the money to get there. You don't have the education to get there. And yet there is this call, but where you're living right now is paying the bills, and where you're living right now is convenient. And one of the greatest stories I see of this is when Elijah called Elisha, and he comes by and he takes his mantle and lays it on him. And he tells Elijah says, be careful what I have done to you, because this is a big thing, me laying my mantle on you. And the scripture says, he said, let me just take care of some affairs. And the Bible said that he had these team of oxen. Okay. So a team is certainly more than one, but it doesn't limit it to just two. We just think maybe it was a couple of two. No, he had a team of oxen, and these were like present day John Deere tractors. All right. This is his livelihood. And of these teams of oxen that he had plowing the field, the Bible says that he went and he slaughtered them. It's like he blew up his livelihood to follow Elijah. And he got rid of all the convenience. I wish I could carry my convenience into my calling, like where I am and the money I'm making and the things I'm doing. But so often to get across the chasm, you have to leave all that behind. And it's extremely uncomfortable and very difficult for us to do. But not only did he slaughter the team of oxen, got rid of all his John Deere tractors, then he had a big barbecue and fed the village. And then he burnt what he barbecued the oxen with were the wood that yoked them together. I mean, he got rid of everything. There was no trace of his career left in order for him to follow the call of God on his life. And I mean, it's difficult. It's easy for me to say, it's even more difficult to live out. But in order for us to get to the calling, and I can show you and tell you many, many examples. I've got notes. I'm just building the notes and getting ready to, to at least start writing this book. But you have to leave to some degree your convenience and that 9-to-5 job, if that's what it is, that, yeah, it's paying the bills, but man, it's difficult to step out of that, and you're straddling over, you're almost in your calling, but you can't quite leave behind that convenience. That there's got to be a complete jump if you're going to be complete and feel the greatest joy in your life and what God's called you to do. So that's a kind of synopsis of where I'm going to go and the challenges that we have in getting to it.
Yeah. And that's going to be a great book. You're going to have to let us know when you do that, and maybe even come back on and talk a little bit more about that book whenever it comes out. You got a title for it yet?
Right now, it's just the chasm between convenience and calling. We might have to sum that up in a word, and that'll be the subtitle.
Yeah, there you go.
It might be called Jump.
Jump. There you go. Just take that leap.
Yeah.
Kill all the oxen. There you go. Well, Eric, man, you've added a ton of value. Man, this is really good. I appreciate you. And I know that you've added a ton of value to our listeners. So really appreciate you coming on with us today, Eric.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Cory, for believing in me and giving me the opportunity.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys for taking a listen to Principles with Cory and Logan. And hey, if something that Eric said stood out to you, or have questions for him, comment and we'll pass those along to him. But also make sure you subscribe so you can stay up to date with any new episodes, and share this with a friend or family member. And for any of those that would like to connect with you, Eric, or find out more about what you're doing, or Sycamore Church, or go ahead and order a pre-order that book.
Yes.
How would they get in touch with you, Eric?
Well, you can go to our website, thesycamore.net. And we're on social media. We're on Instagram as the Sycamore. We're at on Facebook, Tupelo Sycamore. And we're located, again, if you know Tupelo, at 1212 Nelle Street. We have worship services at 10:30, and we are in the West Main Street shopping plaza, just down from Dirt Cheap. If you know where Dirt Cheap is, everybody knows where that is. And so if you want to come and join us for worship, you don't have a church home, we would love to have you. And if you just want to connect, we can do it through email, which is there on sycamore.net, or social media.
Awesome. Well, make sure you guys connect with Eric and stay in touch with him. And we look forward to hearing that book come out, Eric. So
yes. Thank you, Cory.
Well, thank you guys. I hope you guys have a great day, and God bless.